Hi, Mike Chappell here from Kernow, Cornwall, and today marks the 1 week anniversary of my hunger strike, and I will never forget the day or the time I started this hunger strike. I started it at 10 AM on Sunday the 10th of October 2010, so it's 10-10-10-10, and today is 1 week on. And a lot of people have asked me why I'm doing this, and I would answer this in this way. Many months ago I wrote to the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister a perfectly reasonable letter, and I copied it to all 6 of Cornwall's members of the Westminster Parliament, as well as to the Chief Executive of Cornwall Council and other local politicians. And all replied to me saying that it was a perfectly well written letter, reasonable, and that they supported the contents. And all those months on, and having emailed the letter to Mr Cameron, Mr Clegg, and subsequently followed that email up with 2 identical written documents posted to them by recorded delivery, so I know they've been received, I still have not been afforded the courtesy of even an acknowledgement to my letter. And I'm saddened by that, because I must ask myself, as must others ask, where has our democracy gone? Westminster is a long way away from Cornwall, and I know recently Mr Cameron had his child delivered in Cornwall and named her Endelian as a 3rd forename, and I sincerely believe that that was political spin, because Mr Cameron and Mr Clegg will not reply to my letter, which enclosed a copy of the Liberal Democrat plan for Cornwall. And bearing in mind, Mr Clegg and Mr Cameron are now hand in hand in an unholy alliance, an alliance where the Liberal Democrats have sold their souls and gone in with the most unlikely of partners. And I feel that in doing that, and in failing to reply to my letter, which asked a few simple questions, they have let us all down. The questions I asked were this: why do we need a cross-border constituency? Cornwall has a 1,000-year-old border with England. I've been given to understand by many historians that that border is one of Europe's oldest. I asked, why do we need a cross-border constituency? And subsequently the 10-10 rally at Saltash, which was attended by hundreds and hundreds of the people of Cornwall, as well as people from other places, and a whole selection of politicians from across the political spectrum, said, we don't need it. So Mr Cameron and Mr Clegg, listen to that message, we don't need it. Also, Mr Cameron, whilst you were in opposition, you gave us a shadow minister for Cornwall, Mr Mark Prisk, a man with a good Cornish surname. And I asked in my letter, where was the substantive minister for Cornwall? Where has that position gone? And I asked why people in Cornwall are doing the same job as people elsewhere in Great Britain, particularly within the M25 belt, for £100 a week less. Identical jobs, Mr Cameron, and indeed Mr Clegg, for £100 a week less. Mr Cameron said in a very recent visit to Cornwall that he would set Cornwall free. Are you going to do that, Mr Cameron? I asked you that in my letter. Do you intend to do that? Mr Clegg's own politicians here in Cornwall produced a plan for Cornwall which included the establishment of a Cornish Legislative Assembly. And recently we heard the Chief Executive of Cornwall Council say If we want to set our own speed limits and the like in Cornwall, why shouldn't we be empowered to do it? After all, that would be the ultimate localism, wouldn't it? Would that not be devolution to its lowest possible level? And yet, no reply to my letter. So, are we being fed a line in Cornwall, which over that 250 to 300 mile journey to the gin-soaked palaces of Westminster is being lost and misinterpreted by party leaders? And are we being told a pack of lies? I think we are. And I think democracy has let us very, very badly down in Cornwall. And that is why, for now nearly 8 days, I haven't eaten. Some people say that's an extreme measure to take. It isn't. For this reason, who am I damaging but myself? I'm not damaging anybody else. I'm not damaging anybody else's property. But this is the maximum I can do as one Cornishman who is passionate above all else about this duchy of ours, this little country of Cornwall, this old land of West Wales, who is passionate about that. And this is the best I can do for her. And I want to just tell you this little story. When I was a boy of perhaps 10 years, my grandfather took me to the top of Cornwall, an ancient hill which is within sight of my living room window. And the views from there are magnificent. And he took my hand and he immersed it in the rich soil which lays at the top of that ancient hill, where human settlements go back thousands and thousands of years. And he said to me, son, if you feel and listen, you will feel the heartbeat of Cornwall. And I did. And he told me that that is the Cornwall that flows through me, and I am of that place. And of course I am. And he invited me to look about me and said, what you see about you is yours. It belongs to you. That is your Cornwall. Nobody, but nobody, can take that away from you. And all these years on, even though the old boy has long gone, I remember those words. And they're ever more pertinent to me right now. And Mr Clegg and Mr Cameron, you won't ignore that 1,000-year-old boundary. You will not take Cornwall away from us for the sake of political convenience or number crunching by civil servants or members of a quango who don't understand what lays within the heart of us here in Cornwall. Not only us, whose families have lived here for hundreds of years to time immemorial, but those people who have come to Cornwall and who have chosen to make it their home, and who join me in feeling that Cornwall is a land apart, that it's a special place, a place that needs to be protected and cherished. And I tell you this, Mr Cameron and Mr Clegg, you ignore my letters. You fail to give me the courtesy of an acknowledgement. But the message that I and my elected representatives here in Cornwall and my kinfolk and those in many other nations and regions of the world are sending you now is, we're not for messing around anymore. We've had enough of your government, your axis of evil, where you just ignore the ordinary people, where you've sold your souls to the banks and the money has gone, and you inflict your cuts on us, you inflict your minimum wages on us. We're not for grovelling in the dirt anymore, Mr Clegg and Mr Cameron. We're too strong for that. So hear me, a passionate, ordinary Cornishman. The heartbeat of my homeland beats in me. You will not destroy me, but I assure you, my name will be known to you. Remember it, and if I have to take this to its ultimate, I will. I will. Know that, Mr Cameron and Mr Clegg and all the other MPs who are like children across the House, that House of Parliament up there in Westminster, the House we don't respect anymore, in a system we cannot respect anymore, in a democracy that is no democracy at all. Remember my message. Listen to it. Respect the people of Cornwall. Thank you.